Alright, American Horror Story Series 2 Episode 1. So I loved the first series. I thought it was great. The finale was a bit weak, I would say, but it wasn't awful. It was bearable, you know. So I did like the first series, and of course I was like really excited for the second series. Like I haven't been this excited for like a movie or TV show for a long time. The last time I got this excited for a movie slash TV show would be for the Saw, I guess. Like that's really the only thing I like really love movie or TV wise. And American Horror Story is like the only other thing I absolutely love, like movie or TV wise. And what sucks about American Horror Story is everyone I know watches The Walking Dead, but like absolutely no one watches American Horror Story. Like it's not as if they've even watched it, it's that they haven't even heard of American Horror Story. Like here in the UK, I've never ever heard anybody talk about it. It's pretty big I'm not sure how big it is in America, like, but I would assume it's bigger in America than it is here in the UK. I mean, I guess that makes sense since it's a American TV show. But here in the UK, I've never heard anyone talk about it. Everyone's talking about The Walking Dead, and I'm just not a fan of The Walking Dead. It's yeah, I'm not fond of that show. Like I could rant about that for a long time. Not a fan of it. Okay, so on to American Horror Story. So of course at the end of the first series, Ryan Murphy, the creator, dropped the bombshell that American Horror Story is an anthology show. So each series will be a different story. Every single series there will be a new set of characters, a new like location, and a new story. So in the first series we had the family. It basically revolved around the Harmon family living in the murder house, living in a haunted house. That's how I would sum up series 1. A family moves into a haunted house. That's pretty much the first series. So for the second series we're basically revolving around an asylum in the 1960s, which is run by the Catholic Church. And basically the staff members of the asylum, they don't take too good of care of the patients, let's just say that. I guess that's basically how I would describe it. And I'll just leave it at that. It revolves around an asylum run by the Catholic Church in the 1960s. And the staff members of the asylum, their actions are questionable, let's just say. I'll leave it at that. So I was okay with the anthology format. As soon as I heard about it, I was a bit iffy, to be honest. I was like, you know, I'll give it a chance. But as soon as the promos started getting released, I was sold. Like the promos, the advertising for this show was actually really good. I mean, the promos were awesome. You got some pretty creative like imagery in the promos. The promos were great. I loved it. So as soon as the promos started to get released, I was just sold on the anthology idea, and I was just excited for this ever since. So what did I think about the first series, first episode? I thought it was great. I liked it more than the first episode, the series 1. Like when I watched the pilot episode, the series 1, I was kind of like, okay, it was alright, that was interesting. And then it wasn't really until I watched the second episode I was sold on it. But in this case, after watching the first episode, I'm just like, okay, I'm sold. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. When compared to the first series, this is a lot more basic. It's a lot more easy to follow, because in the first series, the first episode had a lot of moments where you're kind of like, a character does or says something which makes you question their motives. Like you're questioning, like, you know, why did that character say that or do that? You know, constantly throughout the first series, you're questioning the motives of characters, and of course whether or not they are alive or dead, since some of them are dead, some of them are alive. It's really confusing but really interesting at the same time. But with Asylum, it's a lot more basic. The story is a lot more easy to follow. I'm pretty sure it's going to get a lot more complicated in the further episodes, but for now it's pretty easy to follow. Yeah, it's just really easy to follow. But that's not a bad thing. Like, I do miss how like confusing and interesting the first series was, but I don't mind this like more basic, more basic story that they are going for. I mean, like when you have a TV show where your characters can be dead or alive and they're still appearing, like the first series, I guess it's only natural for it to become confusing. But for this, since it just takes place in an insane asylum, and we're just focusing on the characters within the asylum, that's pretty much the show. We're focusing on the characters in the asylum, so it's not like you can understand why it wouldn't be as confusing as the first series, if you know what I mean. The one thing I would love to talk, what I'm going to talk about right now, is the title sequence. So the first series had an amazing title sequence. It's like the best title sequence I've ever seen in any TV show ever. I mean, it was great. The theme song for the show is it's awesome. I really like it. The title sequence was just really awesome. Like, it's very, like they did say they were inspired by the movie Seven. It's really similar to the opening to Seven, I suppose. So the opening title sequence, I was really interested in what the title sequence was going to be like for this season. I mean, obviously they were going to change it, but I was really excited to see what they're going to be putting in the title sequence. So they kept the theme song, which I liked. The theme song is awesome. I'm really glad that they kept that. I'm a really big fan of the theme song. I think it's great. Well, everyone loves the theme song. I think I'm yet to see anyone like criticize the opening. Like, pretty much everyone loves the title sequence, as far as I can tell. Whether or not I like it better than the first series, like, opening title sequence, I'm not too sure. Like, in the first one, it was really isolated. It took place in the basement, and it felt like really isolated. I mean, the only person you really see was the guy with the hedge clippers, that deleted character. In the opening title sequence for the season 2, you get to see the environment, like the asylum. Like, in the title sequence for the Murder House series, you don't really see anyone. It's pretty isolated. The only person you see is the guy with the hedge clippers, and aside from that, you just see the environment of the basement or of the house. In this one, you see the environment of the asylum a lot, but you also see, like, a lot of people, like the nuns, the doctors, the patients as well. So in this one, it feels a lot more chaotic, a lot more fast-paced, a lot more chaotic, because, like, there's so many people, and in this you do have people actually appearing in the title sequence, as opposed to the first series, where it felt really isolated and contained. But this time around, it feels a lot more, like, chaotic. I do like it though. I mean, they're two different styles, but I do like this title sequence as well. Whether or not I like it more than the first series title sequence, I'm not too sure. Like, I'm just gonna say I really like it. I would say it's on par with the first title sequence. I guess I'll have to watch it a few more times before I come to the conclusion whether or not I think it's better than the first series title sequence. But at the moment, I'll just say the title sequence is on par with the first series. So the title sequence is as awesome as ever. And I'm really glad they kept the theme song. The theme song's great. I love it. Okay, so before the episode was before this was aired, the first 5 minutes of this episode were like featured online. So of course I watched the first 5 minutes of the episode. I wasn't a fan of it. I mean, the acting, I don't really care about the acting in movies or TV shows. The acting wasn't too good. I guess that I better say that if you care about the acting of TV shows. The acting wasn't too good, but I wasn't too bothered by that. The thing I was bothered by was it was just pretty boring. Like, nothing, I don't know, it just wasn't really that interesting. And the whole, like, sticking your hand through the hole in the door sequence, and that wasn't really suspenseful. I didn't care. It wasn't suspenseful, and it didn't really have a payoff. But thankfully, they did edit some stuff out of the clip they released online. So when you do actually watch the episode, like, on TV, there is more to it than what you've seen in that YouTube clip they released. Like, there's a bigger payoff when he sticks his hand through the door, basically. So there was an actual payoff, let's say, in the finished version, since they cut it out of the YouTube clip. So there's a bigger payoff, let's just say. So it made the opening title sequence, the opening, like, 5 minutes, a bit more enjoyable, let's say. But I still wasn't much of a fan of the title sequence, let's just say. The acting for the throughout the show, great as far as I'm concerned. Everyone does a great job. Like, Jessica Lange, everyone's, like, favourite. Like, that, she's, like, everybody's favourite in the first series. She's back, of course, as the main character this time around, or at least one of the main characters. She's awesome. James Cromwell plays a Nazi character. He's, like, performing human experiments on the patients of the asylum. He's fantastic. I really liked him. Yeah, he was just really fun. Like, everyone does a good job. I'm just going to leave it at that. Everyone's great. Like, Lily Rabe, who played Noah in the first series. Yeah, well, everyone just does a great job. I'm just leaving it at that. Like, the only thing I can't say about the acting is that everyone does a great job. I'll just leave it at that. My favourites would be James Cromwell, Jessica Lange, and Evan Peters, though. They're my favourites, in my opinion. They're the best, in my opinion. What else is there to talk about? The characters. I kind of felt, Yeah, like, should I talk about whether or not the show is actually scary or not? I mean, the first series, it was kind of silly, but it was like intentionally silly. It did have one or two genuinely creepy moments, let's say. I feel as if this series, or at least this episode, had overall it was pretty silly. I mean, it's more of a homage or a tribute, like a tribute to horror films in general, I would say. But it does have one or two moments, like serious moments, where you feel for the characters, like the whole sequence where the Nazi is experimenting on a certain character, which I will not name due to spoilers. But that sequence was kind of serious, of course. I mean, it's torture. When people are getting tortured, it's kind of difficult to make a joke out of it. So that bit was kind of serious, I guess. Overall, it's kind of silly, but in a fun way. Like, it's a horror show, but it's a fun kind of horror. But they do have one or two dark or serious moments. Like when I'm not sure whether or not this is considered a spoiler or not. They show this in the trailer. But basically the reporter ends up in the asylum. She's trying to like uncover the truth about the asylum, like how the staff members are treating the patients. She ends up getting like locked up in the asylum against her will, of course, and she's not crazy. Jessica Lange, who runs the asylum, she manipulates the system and ends up getting the reporter committed to the asylum permanently, and like there's nothing the reporter can do about it. Like that was like, quite a serious moment, if you ask me. So like overall, the episode's kind of silly, fast-paced, but in a good way. I mean that in a good way. But it does have its one or two dark or serious moments. And when the reporter got locked inside the asylum, I did actually feel for her, and I did feel frustrated as well. Like I felt for the character. I felt frustrated for the character because she was locked up. Like the idea of I guess the idea that the show is based on is kind of scary alone if you think about it. Although this series seems to be pretty silly, and but in a fun, intentional way. Like it's intentional the way it is silly. Although it is silly, that moment, like the premise of the show, is pretty dark if you think about it. I mean, the idea of being locked up in an asylum where the staff members are actually more crazy than the actual patients, and they get off on torturing people and experimenting and like abusing the patients. Like the idea of being locked up in an asylum like this, where you are at the mercy of other people, or with people have control over you and there's nothing you can do about it. That idea alone is pretty scary. So I guess you could say the show is scary if you get your head around the premise. I guess let's just say that. But that moment where she got locked up in the asylum and she's freaking out, realizing there's nothing she can do, I thought that was a pretty dark moment. Let's just say that was kind of depressing. Like I felt frustrated for it. What else can we talk about? The Grace character seems interesting. I mean, she murdered her family, or at least she's committed to the asylum because she murdered her family, but she's claiming she didn't murder her family. Of course, I guess they're going to reveal whether or not she really did murder her family later on, but she seems like a likable character. I mean, there's a lot of despisable characters in this show, let's say, but intentional. Like, I mean, obviously James Cromwell, let's talk about him. So like I said before, he plays the Nazi. He's experimenting on the patients, like forced cannibalism. He's just experimenting on them in the surgery theater, that sort of stuff, creating these mutant things and stuff. He's awesome. Like, he's the villain, obviously. I mean, he's one of the bad guys, obviously, but I don't hate him. Like, I don't hate the character. I think he's awesome. I will say Jessica Lange, I hate her character. Like, she's obviously one of the villains of the show. But, like, I hated her character. But the thing is, with James Cromwell, the Nazi, who is far more evil than Jessica Lange, even though he's like a bad guy, I mean, obviously he's torturing the patients and stuff and experimenting on them and everything. I liked him though. Like, he was a fun character. He's the sort of guy I can root for. He's one of the villains which I can root for. Like, I want him to win because he's just so cool. Like, he's a great actor. He was fun. His character was fun. I think he was called Dr. Arden. I think that was his name. But he was awesome. I loved him. He was a great character. I can't wait to see what other crazy stuff he does to the patients of the asylum in the later episodes. He was just awesome. I really liked him. So he was like a really evil, sadistic villain, but in a fun way. Like a sort of Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees one. He's a villain you can root for, I felt. So aliens. Yeah, aliens. There's aliens now. Everybody knows this. I mean, if you're a fan of the show and you've been following the clips, the promos, the information being released about the show, you already know there's aliens in this show. A lot of people are kind of split up, let's say, about this, the aliens. Like, some people don't like the aliens being in the show. They feel as if it's a bit sci-fi, I guess. I'm not sure what to think of it. I mean, at the moment, I'm kind of on the fence about it. Like, it didn't bother me too much. I mean, when the Nazi guy was experimenting on a certain character, who I will not name for spoiler's sake, a certain thing happens, and if you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. But when he's experimenting on the character and torturing him, a certain thing happens during the torture, which is related to the aliens, let's say. That was just a big what the hell moment. I'm not quite sure what the hell to think about this. What happened during the torture seemed to suggest the aliens are not all in Kit's head. I mean, of course, there's an obvious implication or possibility that Kit is just crazy. He is Bloodyface, and the aliens is something he conjured up in his mind. And he's just crazy, and the aliens don't exist, and he is really Bloodyface. Like, that's obviously the obvious possibility. But because of what happened during the torture sequence, it's making me think there really are aliens in the show. I think they are real, I think. It's going to be fun, though. Obviously, they're going to answer whether or not the aliens are real or not in the later episodes. Like, obviously, duh, okay. I mean, obviously, I'm going to wait for that. But at the moment, I'm not quite sure what to think. It's a bit too early to say, I guess. I was fine with them, I'll just say that. The design of the aliens, like, you do see them briefly during the abduction, when the aliens themselves are, like, you know, doing the probing and torturing and everything. You see, like, a quick flash of them, like some tentacles. That looks fine. That weird spider circuit thing, that was just bizarre. I'm not sure what to think about that. It was a weird effect. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what to think about that. I'll just wait until I'll wait until the future episodes. Wait until they reveal more about the aliens. Then I'll form a proper opinion on them, I'll say. But at the moment, I'm okay with them. They don't bother me or anything. So, like I said before, this did a much better job at pulling me in than the pilot of the first series did, or at least for me. Like, everyone's different, but I felt as if this episode was a lot better than the premiere episode for the first series. It hooked me in. I was excited from the beginning. But the thing is, because I know what I'm dealing with right now. Like, after watching the trailers for series 1, I was kind of like, this show does not look good at all. Like, I really didn't think the first series looked good at all when I watched the trailers. Then when I watched the first episode, I was kind of like, that was okay. Then when I watched the second episode, I was like, okay, this is awesome. I loved it from that point on. But the first episode didn't really pull me in. Like, it was interesting, but I didn't think it was amazing or anything. But series 2, from this very first episode, I was pulled into it, like, straight away. Like, I was listening to every piece of dialogue, like, very closely, and watching out for everything. Like, every time I watch this show now, I have my complete, I invest my complete attention into it because I love it. The thing is, because I love the first series, that might be why I'm paying full attention to series 2. So, like, I might be biased because I love series 1 so much, so that might be why I'm just giving my full attention to series 2 regardless of whether or not I actually think of it. Like, I am a bit of a fanboy of American Horror Story now. Like, I really liked the first series. The finale was okay, like I said, but the rest of the series was amazing. So so that might be why I'm paying full attention to series 2. Not because it's entertaining, but simply because I love the first series, so now I'm just, like, automatically giving the second series my attention, because now I know what I'm dealing with. But, I'm trying to think not like a fanboy. I'll just say, I'm pretty sure even if I wasn't a fanboy, I would like this episode a lot more than the first episode of series 1. Okay, what else? I think I'm coming to the end here. When this episode ended, I was pissed that it ended. When it ended, I was, like, angry, frustrated that it ended. And when I say that, I mean, it's because I want to see the next episode. I want to see what happens next. So that in itself is a good sign. If a TV show, like, every single time an episode ends for a TV show and you're kind of, like, frustrated, you want to see more, that's obviously a good sign, because it means, like, you're invested in the story, you want to see what happens next. So obviously the story, you know, the TV show has pulled you in, so obviously you're interested. So that's a good sign. When the episode ended, I was, like, pissed off because I wanted to see what was going to happen next. I want to see more from these characters and everything, you know. So yeah, there we go. That's a good sign. One thing I will say, because if I was following like everything, every single day I was checking for new information on this show, like new trailers, clips, promos, new interviews with cast, new stills released, new pieces of information released. Every single day I was checking, so I was up to date constantly with anything ever said about the show or released on the show. If a poster or a trailer or anything was released, I knew about it like a day afterwards. Like I was following everything very closely, so I know everything they've said about the show. I've known about it. The thing is, if you've watched all of the trailers and you've read all of the interviews with the cast and the directors and everything, you pretty much know what's happening in the first episode. So I guess that's a bad thing. If you haven't seen any of the trailers and you haven't listened to any interviews or any pieces of information released about the series, it'll be a fun ride, the first episode. Don't get me wrong, I did find the episode fun. The thing is, I didn't know exactly what was happening. Everything I expected to happen happened. Like, I already knew everything about this episode because of all the trailers and interviews and clips I saw. Like, there wasn't a single thing that surprised me. Having said that, I still had a fun time with it. So I will say I'm kind of disappointed. I have myself to blame because I spoiled it for myself by looking at all the pictures, like dissecting all of the trailers and clips and everything. So I knew exactly what was going to happen in this episode. So that kind of took the suspense, or let's say, yeah, that kind of took the suspense out of it, I suppose. But even then, I was still interested in seeing everything happen as opposed to just knowing what would happen. Like, I'm still interested in visually actually seeing everything happen to these characters. So if you haven't seen any trailers or anything like that, you will have a much more fun time than I did because you don't know what's going to happen, of course. I think that's really all I have to say. Like, because of course they revealed what this show is going to have. Like, there's aliens, Nazis, mutants, human experiments, torture, bloody face, and I'm pretty sure, like, you see the statue very briefly, but in the opening title sequence, the statue, the Virgin Mary statue moves. Like, the facial expression suddenly changes to like an angry, like, facial expression. That happens in the title sequence. And I wouldn't be surprised if you do see the statue very briefly in the episode, but I really wouldn't be surprised if this statue is alive. I've got a feeling this statue is going to be an SCP-173 kind of deal. I think that statue is going to be a weeping angel or something. I'm pretty sure, I don't know, like, it didn't move in the episode, but I got a feeling in the later episodes they're going to reveal in a twist that this statue is alive and it's going to kill people. I got a feeling it will. It's a bit early to say, and they haven't mentioned it. Like, Ryan Murphy racked off a list of things this series will have, such as aliens, bloody face, Nazis, torture, human experiments, mutants, etc. And he didn't mention a neck snapping statue that can only move when no one's looking. So I'm not sure if he's trying to keep that as a surprise, or maybe the opening title sequence, maybe it doesn't mean anything, or maybe maybe it's a foreshadowing that the statue is alive. We'll have to wait and see. But I got a feeling that statue is alive, so you better keep an eye out. Keep an eye on that statue, I think. Yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. One last thing, I want to talk about Bloodyface for a second. Bloodyface is awesome. For those of you who haven't seen the show and are just watching this review, Bloodyface is this series' villain. In the first series, the main bad guy, the main baddie, or the main villain of the first series was Rubberman. Rubberman was some guy wearing this latex bondage suit. Like, he was like walking around, like, he popped up throughout the series, kind of wreaking havoc, like killing people, raping people, like doing all this crazy stuff. He was like the main villain of the first series, and in episode 8 you find out who he is. So, like, throughout the series, that's one of the questions you as an audience member have: who is Rubberman? And then in one of the twists in episode 8 they reveal who he is. In this case, Ryan Murphy has said, okay, so he basically wants to have another threat which is as memorable as Rubberman in the first series. So instead of some guy walking around in this bondage suit, in this series we have this guy walking around who carves off people's faces and wears the faces as his own. So it's basically Leatherface. It's like a direct tribute or homage to Leatherface. He carves off his victims' faces, wears the flesh on his own. So yeah, his name is Bloodyface. That's what he's called. He's a serial killer, of course. And he is awesome. He appears in the episode for like 2 seconds. Like, I'm not even exaggerating, like 2 seconds. Throughout the whole entire episode, the characters are constantly mentioning him, referring to him, talking about him. And you don't see him until the very end of the episode. It's great. It's great. Like, I really like him as well. Like, the name itself, Bloodyface, is awesome. Like, some people are saying, oh, that's like a childish name, Bloodyface. That's something a 5-year-old would come up with. That's a lame name. It's kind of like, isn't that kind of the point? You know, having a childish name associated with someone, you know, this person, which is like really horrific. Like, isn't that the point of calling him Bloodyface? I mean, it's kind of cliche to have like a really childish thing associated with something really horrific, but I feel as if it's done well. Like, the name Bloodyface is kind of childish in itself, but I think it's done well. Like Bloodyface himself, he looks awesome. Now this is I have myself to blame for this. Bloodyface, they released a picture of Bloodyface before the before the episode aired. A picture of Bloodyface was released back in September or August, I can't remember, and of course, following every single piece of information about American Horror Story Asylum, I saw the image as soon as it was released, and I wish I didn't see the image, because I looked at it, and of course he looks awesome. I'm just gonna say this, Bloodyface looks great. The makeup on him is fantastic. Like, his teeth, they are messed up. Like, oh wow, his teeth. And of course of course he wears the flesh of his victims over his own face, so of course his face is gonna look pretty gruesome. But the thing is, this is a TV show, and as far as I know, TV shows, then, you know, films are always more extreme than TV shows. So when I watch a TV show, I don't really expect anything to be too extreme or gruesome. I mean, American Horror Story Series 1 had some pretty dark moments, or gruesome or extreme moments, which you don't really see TV shows deal with. Like, you have teen suicide. I'm not saying American Horror Story is the only TV show in the world to deal with teen suicides, but it's a kind of like a touchy subject, I suppose, which TV shows don't often delve into. So for American Horror Story to do it, it's kind of like unexpected. Like, films do it all the time, but TV shows not so much. So, for example, what other thing? Like, they had stuff like school shootings. I've never heard or seen a TV show do that before. Like, a school shooting, especially for an American show, is a pretty dark or touchy subject. So I was actually really shocked when you see a school shooting in episode 6 of American Horror Story Series 1. Like, when Tatum does the school shooting, that's a pretty dark scene. Like I said, the show for the most part is really fun and campy, but they have some really dark, serious moments. And Tatum doing the school shooting is one of them, because, like, you see it from the victim's perspective, and, like, you know, they show it in great detail, and it's pretty dark. So this, like I said, the show is pretty fun. It's like, it's a really fun, campy horror, and it's intentionally fun and campy, which is a really good kind of horror. Like, I really like that type of horror, but it does have its dark and serious moments. So, like, I've kind of gone off topic here. But the first series had its pretty gruesome or extreme moments, so I'm expecting the same from Asylum. So when I finally saw Bloodyface, whoa, like, I mean, when you see Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for example, he doesn't look too horrific. I mean, he looks a lot better in the original than he does in the remake, of course. But even in both versions, he doesn't look horrific, I wouldn't say. I do understand why some people would see him as frightening, but I wouldn't say he looks gruesome. Like, visually, he doesn't look gruesome or gory. Like, Bloodyface is a more gory version of Leatherface, let's say. I mean, his face, it's, of course, bloody. The name Bloodyface, what the... I mean, I'm just saying, Bloodyface, he looks great, and I wasn't expecting him to look as gruesome as he did, because, of course, at first, Ryan Murphy announced there would be a serial killer called Bloodyface, who carves off his victims' faces and wears the flesh as his own. Like, of course, Ryan Murphy announced there would be a killer in American Horror Story Asylum, which does this. However, when I heard about that, I kind of just imagined something like Leatherface, which, Leatherface doesn't look gruesome, you know? Like, from a gory kind of standpoint. So I wasn't expecting much from Bloodyface. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I wasn't expecting him to look too impressive, let's say, visually. So after seeing that, when I saw that picture, I was like, god damn, he looks badass. And also, he wears like this opera gown and these like leather gloves. He looks awesome. I love the suit as well. And his hair is like really long and greasy. Like, it's really long and greasy and like uncutty, but it looks fantastic. I think it's great. So, Bloodyface, what I'm getting at here, I've got really sidetracked here, is that I wish I didn't see the picture, because you don't see Bloodyface until the very end of the episode. Like, literally, he pops up, he confronts one of the characters, the character screams, of course, and Bloodyface is standing in front of him, and then as Bloodyface advances on the character with this ice pick thing, we cut out, and it's the ending titles. That's why I was so pissed off as well. Like, it's a good cliffhanger. I mean, Bloodyface pops up, he advances on the character, bang, end credits. I was like, you know, I want to know what happens next, man. Like, let's see Bloodyface in action. So I'm excited for. I want to see, you know, I want to see Bloodyface in action. He looks fun. He looks great as well. Like, the makeup is. I can't stress enough how awesome the makeup is on Bloodyface. Like, he's exactly what you expect someone who carves off his victims' faces and wears the flesh as his own. He's exactly what you expect someone who does that to look like. He looks fantastic. Again, his teeth, wonderful work on the teeth. The makeup is just awesome on this guy. And like, I feel as if it would be a great shock moment if I had not seen the picture, because of course throughout the whole episode the suspense would be building, because all of the characters are constantly talking about Bloodyface throughout the whole episode, and you don't see him until the very end of the episode. So of course the suspense is being built up. What does he look like? You know, what does he look like? What does this mask look like? And you don't find out until the very end, which is it's a good idea. I mean, you know, it's building up the suspense, the mystery. You're constantly wondering what he looks like, but I wish they didn't release that picture. I guess I have no one to blame but myself though, because I had seen the picture, I had ruined what he looked like. That's what I'm getting at. So by the time you know, throughout the whole entire episode I knew what he looked like. When we finally saw him at the end of the episode, I was like, yeah, I already seen it. But it was cool to see him in the flesh anyway, like in the actual show. But I feel as if those of you who haven't seen the picture of Bloodyface and don't know what he looks like, you'll be even more shocked, and there'll be a lot more suspense for you when you are watching when you are actually watching the show, waiting to see what he looks like. Like, your curiosity is going to be building throughout the whole thing as you're wondering what he's going to look like. Okay, I got sidetracked big time there. Okay, I think that's it. That's all I have to say about American Horror Story. So, yeah, that's it. I really liked it. Acting's great. The new Asylum storyline is really interesting. I can't wait to see what other crazy stuff is happening. It's a lot more basic and easier to follow than the first series. Far, far more easier to follow than the first series. So if you were put off by how confusing the first series was, Series 2 will be for you, because it's a lot easier to follow. If you didn't like the style of the first series, when I say that I mean like how campy, how fun it was, like how it doesn't take itself seriously. If you didn't like that about the first series, you won't like the second series, because it's the same thing. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's campy, and it's just like a fun kind of horror. It's for you to like watch with a bunch of mates and just laugh and have a good time with, you know. It's not there to seriously scare you. Although it does have its one or two really depressing and dark moments, that's for sure. Some pretty yeah, twisted moments, let's say. But yeah, I loved it. It's awesome. If you like the first series, you should get a kick out of this. If you didn't like the first series, watch this one, because like I said, it's a new storyline, new set of characters, new storyline, new time period, new location. So at least give it a chance. You might like the new storyline. But if the style of the first series is what bothered you, don't watch this one, because like I said, the style and the mood is exactly the same. But that's all I have to say. So I'm really excited for the second episode. I really can't wait. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So that's American Horror Story Series 2, Asylum, Episode 1. And of course I'll do the other episodes. And that's it. So thanks for watching. See ya.